In 1971, Ford Motor Company released a new car onto the market in the United States. Within months, it was one of the best-selling vehicles in the country. Millions of people in the US bought one. But Ford already knew it could catch fire. In the late 1960s, car companies in the United States were facing a problem. Smaller, cheaper vehicles from Japan and Europe were taking over the market. Ford needed a response. Fast. Lee Iacocca, Ford's vice president at the time, had a clear vision. A new car, under 2,000 pounds, under $2,000, and on dealership floors within 25 months, nearly half the time it normally took to build a car from scratch. That car was the Ford Pinto. It launched in September 1970 as a 1971 model. People in the US loved it. By January 1971, Ford had already sold over 100,000 units. Over 3 million would be sold across its production run. It was exactly what Ford promised: small, affordable, and everywhere. There was one detail Ford did not include in the ads. During development, engineers discovered a problem with the fuel tank. On the Pinto, the tank sat just a few inches behind the rear bumper. In a rear-end collision, even at low speeds, the tank could be punctured by bolts from the rear axle. When that happened, fuel leaked. And when fuel leaked near hot metal and sparks, the car caught fire. Ford's own internal crash tests confirmed this. Over and over, 40 times, engineers proposed several solutions. A nylon bladder lining the tank, between $5 and $8 per vehicle. A plastic shield between the tank and the axle, $1. Structural reinforcement in the rear, $4. The most expensive fix on the table was $11 per car. Ford rejected every option. Instead, in 1973, Ford's safety division produced an internal document. It compared the cost of modifying the fuel tank across all their vehicles against the projected cost of lawsuits from injuries and deaths caused by the fires. On one side of the calculation, $11 per car, across 12.5 million vehicles. A total of $137 million to fix the problem. On the other side, Ford estimated the cost of each death at $200,000, each serious injury at $67,000, and each vehicle fire at $700. Multiply those numbers across their projected casualties, and Ford concluded the lawsuits would cost $49.5 million total. $49.5 million was less than $137 million. So Ford chose the cheaper option. That document became known as the Pinto memo. For years, nothing happened publicly. The Pinto kept selling. Fires kept occurring. Ford kept settling lawsuits out of court quietly and with confidentiality agreements that kept the cases out of the news. Then in 1977, a journalist named Mark Dowie obtained Ford's internal documents. His article, published in Mother Jones magazine under the title Pinto Madness, laid out everything: the memo, the numbers, the decision, in front of the public for the first time. The reaction was immediate. That same year, a 13-year-old boy named Richard Grimshaw was a passenger in a 1971 Pinto when another vehicle struck it from behind at 28 miles per hour. The tank ruptured. The car caught fire. The driver did not survive. Richard did, but with injuries that required over 70 surgeries across the following years. A court in California awarded Richard $125 million in punitive damages. At the time, one of the largest verdicts in legal history. The judge later reduced it to $3.5 million. But the message had been sent. In 1978, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration completed its investigation and directed Ford to recall 1.5 million Pintos. The modification required to fix the fuel tank cost Ford, per vehicle, around $11. The same amount engineers had proposed before the car ever left the factory. Ford was later charged with criminal negligence in the deaths of 3 young women in Indiana. The first time in history that a corporation in the United States faced criminal charges over a defective product. A van struck their 1973 Pinto from behind on a highway. The tank ruptured. The car caught fire. All 3 were lost. Ford was ultimately found not guilty. No executive ever faced consequences. No one went to prison. The Pinto was discontinued in 1980. Ford did not build a dangerous car because they did not know it was dangerous. They built it, tested it 40 times, confirmed it was dangerous, calculated the cost of the consequences, and decided the math worked in their favor. The $11 fix was never about money Ford did not have. It was a decision made in a conference room by people in suits about people they would never meet. The only question the Pinto memo never answered was a simple one. At what point does a number on a spreadsheet stop being a business decision and become something else entirely? Ford called it a cost-benefit analysis. The people who bought the Pinto called it a car.